Okay, I'm going to go for a kind of impromptu beer review, but this is a review of the Mangrove Jacks Roasted Stout kit. I'm going to try and pour it from a new tap. This is going to probably be a review for another day. And I've yet to kind of fully maybe balance it, if you like, if that's a word for doing this. I did kind of hope it would perform a bit better, but it could be due to my carbonation rate. It's currently running a stout spout on it, so I don't know. I wanted to add the creaminess to it, but it seems to be also adding a lot of froth. It's not running on nitro. That's something that I can't get around at the moment, being in the flat, but it does pour a good, you can see it, if it will focus in. It's slowly surging back up the glass, but it'll probably take a little while. I might cut back when I've got a decent pint, and then we'll start the review there. Cut back, and we've got the pour there. I will admit it's a little bit foamy at the moment. I'm still ironing out kinks, but onto the beer. So this is the Mangrove Jack Roasted Stout. I have to admit, when I bottled it, I did have some reservations about the taste, and I have to admit that I don't think I've had a bad Mangrove Jacks kit, and I'm not saying this is particularly bad, but I noticed there was the inclusion of some hops, like the dry hops, the pellets. I can't recall which hops it was now. I can't remember if it was North Down or something like that. But I'm thinking maybe the kit might have a little bit of a hopped malt to it as well. But for me, when I was bottling it, it kind of did have too much of a bitterness, almost verging on kind of black IPA rather than a stout, which I like, don't get me wrong, but when you're brewing a stout kit, I kind of had visions of, I've been drinking a lot of Guinness lately, you know, I had no illusions it was going to produce a Guinness, but I was expecting kind of a bit more, I don't know, the dark malts, the kind of, that rich kind of dark kind of roasty stout. And I do think a stout is very hard to replicate in a beer kit. A lot of other styles, I mean there's probably other styles as well that can't quite match up, but for me, all grain stouts kind of, when you brew them at home brew level, are kind of very simple grain bills, but they produce a fantastic beer. But I think sometimes in a beer kit, I don't know, it's something to do with the how they, you know, kind of preserve the malt. It kind of almost overpowers the stout taste, and you get that kind of, and it's not a kit taste. I can't put my finger on it, and I get a little bit of that with this, but I think it's almost too roasted, if you like. It's kind of very, kind of a bit like chewy in your mouth. It's a bit too, it's too much. That said, run through the little 9 litre corny with the stout spout and that. It's got some amazing lacing. It kind of gives you that Guinness surge. It does take a little while longer to clear, but I'm running it a different way, and I'll discuss that in another video. But it's not a bad beer actually, but it reminds me, I don't think I've done a lot of stout kits over the years, and I think because of that reason that people tend to add stuff to them, trying to make them a bit better. And this does remind me of like when I did a stout kit before, and it kind of is leaps and bounds better than that. But for me, I'm not saying this is a bad kit, don't get me wrong, it's just a stout kit is a hard kit, I think. I've loved comments below for people to suggest that you know, another stout kit that they've brewed and they think it was fantastic. Ideally without any tweaks. I'm kind of going for this thing at the moment of trying to brew kits as they are, because I feel that, you know, unless you've got a single can kit, you're going to need to add some stuff to it. But whereas a lot of companies now are producing kits that really, if you're paying the kind of £20 mark, you'd expect everything to be in that kit and produce a decent kit. And a lot of kits out there are doing that now. But I think you get away with a lot of sins when you've got this kind of hopped malt, where you've got a hopped or a dry hop packet, or like the little sprinkle thing, or maybe a hop oil. It adds that extra element to kind of get away from some of that kind of harsh taste you might get with the malt that's, you know, the malts have got better the way they preserve them. I'm sure they have, or my taste has just got more used to it, I don't know. Maybe if you had someone new to homebrew now, they would kind of taste it and think that tastes poor. I don't know, it's hard to say, but I think they've come along. But I think a stout is definitely hard to reproduce compared to a commercial or a homebrewed grain version. So that's the challenge. If there's anyone that thinks there's another stout kit out there that's worth trying, but I'd likely like a 2-can kit and the yeast and go with that rather than have to buy loads of extra stuff. I'm kind of going for that easiness at the moment. That said, I didn't bottle a whole heap of this. I also didn't carbonate it in the bottle. I carbonated it in the kicks because I can regulate the pressure, and I've got like a little valve that tells you the CO2 level, and you've got the valve on the cornet to release it. And I didn't carbonate it in the bottles, but they've all gone now because they were kind of my early testers, and they were still very bitter and it has mellowed a bit. I definitely let it ferment out for a long period of time this time. But after reading some recent things about dry hops adding a little bit of extra CO2 and all this other stuff, I've always had issues with stouts that overcarbonate in the bottle, so I kind of decided to err on the side of caution, uncarbonate it and go with that. Obviously it's easier in the keg to control carbonation levels. But I think it's bang on for this one. The carbonation's right, there's no fizziness that can often make a stout or any beer that's overcarbonated that shouldn't be tasted awful. I'd possibly say a little bit thin. I added the extra bag of malt extract that Mangrove Jacks say that you can. I brewed it to the length that they say. But for me as a stout, it's on the thin side. I don't know why. I didn't add too much water, but it's definitely, I wish I'd kind of reduced the brew level, but I'm trying to go for the brewing things as they are. I think that gives a fairer review of a beer kit of someone going in blind and buying it, because to expect other people to buy loads of extra equipment or ingredients, if you like, to make things different, it's not quite there. So, I mean, I think I brewed another 2 or 3 Mangrove Jacks kits before this, but if I'm honest, I've got one that I could still review, but I think it was a porter. I can't remember, Chinook porter maybe it was, and that was pretty good. I still got some of that in the bowls, but I think it's slightly overcarbonated, but I might do a review of that. But yeah, so it's not bad. I've waffled on a bit, but as stouts go, it's not a bad kit. I did expect more. I think if I brewed it again, I'd probably leave that dry hop out. I don't think it's added a whole heap, but I suspect there's a certain amount of hop in the malt extract packet. Now, I've brewed a few stouts myself, and I'm often surprised how very little hops go into them. And you know, that's what I think for me, especially winter time as well. They make an excellent beer. Grain bill's very easy. You don't need a whole heap of hops, and I think possibly, you know, the Mangrove Jacks kit one maybe has too many hops in the pre-malted hop. For me, it's quite bitter. I don't know why. Not that I don't dislike that bitter, but when you know, if someone said, I don't know, here's a lager and it's clean taste, and then you got, you know, a totally different taste and it had a sour taste, and you said, well, you know, you never told me this was a sour beer, you'd be a little bit kind of put out. You'd expect something different. And I think that's what it is for me. This is not the kind of stout that I expected. I didn't, you know, I can't say that it should be tasting like Guinness or anything like that. That's unfair. But it's not quite there. There's something about it. I don't know what. It's enjoyable, but it's not a 10 out of 10 in beer kit for me. I'd give it a good 7, I think. But I'm looking to go through some of the other Mangrove Jack kits and some other kits shortly. So there'll be a couple more reviews, just because kits are easy for me at the moment. That's all I can say. But you know, who knows? There might be a all-grain brew on the horizon. But it's not bad. If you fancy the Mangrove Jack, it's an easy kit. I haven't filmed any footage prior to this, purely because I've got a little picture that I put up as the front cover for the title. But it's the pouch is split, instructions, hops in one side, malt extract on the other. The additional kilo of malt extract that I purchased, around £5 most sites. So you're looking around, depending on how much you pay for the kit, 20 quid for the kit ish. I think the stout one's slightly cheaper than a lot of the Mangrove Jacks ones, and then the malt extract about 5 to 7 quid. So you're looking kind of 20, 25, 27 quid at the top end. It's not a bad drop, don't get me wrong. For less than 30 quid, you're still getting 40 pints of a decent beer. But yeah, a bit thin. bit too bitter and just not stouty for me. But there you go. Cheers.